show you a few ideas here of what I've been working on. I'm going to try and make it clear as to what the buttons on the 6-button keypad do. You can see I have the keypad showing on the screen. I went to View and I clicked on the keypad window so it would show up here on the screen, and it tells me what the different buttons do in respect to what mode I'm in. Here is my upper left, upper center, upper right, lower left, lower center, and lower right. Now you can see in this particular case, which I don't have anything going on the screen, I don't have a pattern on there or anything. You can see what each button on the 6-button keypad does. Now what I want you to understand is the fact that this left button, lower left, single stitch right now, that is tied to the left handle button, and normally that's a black button, and the right handle button, the red button, is tied to this lower middle button on the 6-button keypad, the stop button. So that's what we have there. And as I go through this, I'm going to show you how this buttons change to do different function depending on the mode that you're in. Okay, I'll just simply go and click on the different icons. Of course, this icon here is the create a boundary. If I want to create a boundary, I can select that. Now I can either select it with the mouse by just left clicking on it, and it will tell me to put in the boundary points. I'll just hit stop and get out of it. I can also click on the mode button here, and you'll see the boundary icon activate, and then if I click the lower right button on the 6-button keypad, it says select, and I select that mode, then it will tell me what the buttons do. The left button on the 6-button keypad and the right button on the 6-button keypad are the OK buttons. In other words, that's what I would click to create a boundary. Now, and the center, lower center is the stop button. So if I click the lower left, it's going to put in a point. Then I click the lower left again. See, it's going to start making a boundary. I'll click the lower left one more time, and then I want to keep zooming in here so you can see that I am in fact making a boundary, and I will go and just go ahead and turn off the crosshair. Now you can see what's happening with the boundary. I'm just doing that with the lower left. Okay, if I use the lower right, I can continue making this boundary, lower right, and I'm going to keep zooming back and forth here so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, I said that the left handle button is connected to the lower left button, so I can use that button to do some boundary work also. See, I'm just pressing the lower left button to make my boundary. The lower center button is the stop. So if I press this lower center button, it will stop doing a boundary and it will close the boundary option and connect the last point that I clicked, connect it back to the start point of the boundary over here. And I can also, I said that this lower center button is connected to the right handle button. So if I click the right handle button, it should complete the boundary, and it did. So you see, I can work back and forth between all of these. And right now, this button is a single stitch, and also the left handle button is a single stitch. If I press it, it does a single stitch. Or if I press the lower left 6-button keypad, it does a single stitch. Now, I want to go into something more complicated and show you what effect these buttons have on different modes. Okay, I'm going to go into, well, first I'm just going to give myself another quilt group because I want to keep my screen clear. So I select this pattern, and I can either use the mouse to select the repeat patterns mode, or I can use the upper right button on the keypad. It says mode, and if I click it, it will scroll over to whatever I want to go to, and it says repeat patterns, and then I can click the lower right button to select that mode. And you can see now I have the lower left and the lower right say OK. So I can either click this button on the keypad, or this button on the keypad, or this button on the left handle. And you see when I click the button on the left handle, it placed the pattern on the screen. So that's some uses for that. And the left handle button now is single stitch, and if every time I press it, it'll do a single stitch. Or if I hold it down constantly, it'll just keep doing single stitch. So that's how things are tied together. If I wanted to quilt this, I could scroll over to, I could either just click on the quilt icon with the mouse, or I could use the upper right button and scroll over to the quilt icon. That would be the quilt mode. Now I have here as a new option. It says, or a same option, it says select, and if I click the lower right button, it will select that option, lower right. So now I have selected what it's going to do, and it went to the start point of the pattern and took a single stitch. Now I have single stitch, stop, and OK. So if I press the lower right button, that says, oh, I'm going to start to quilt, the lower right button. Okay. Now notice that this lower left button, which is tied to the left handle, says now it's decreased speed. So if I press the lower left button on the keypad, it will decrease the speed. Or if I press the left handle button, it will decrease the speed. You can see over here my speed is now down to 30%. Now this increases the speed, and let's see what happens if I just click over here. Okay, it went right back. All I did was left click on this speed block in the lower left corner of the screen, and it went right back to 65. Okay. Now if I click the right handle button, that's the stop button, it will stop. So that's how those are tied together. And let's do another experiment. I'll go and get myself another quilt group and get out of that one. Here we have our plain keypad. So what else can we see? And one of the things that keeps coming up is that the stitches per inch keeps changing when people are doing regulated mode. So I'm going to do that here very shortly. But first I'm going to just go and get my based icon, and I could do that with the buttons on the 6-button keypad. And again, in the base mode, right here, I have these options. I can do a single stitch with the left handle button or the bottom left keypad button. And here's my channel lock. Now, remember, this is start is tied to the right handle button. So if I click on start, let's see what changes. So I'm going to just click on with the right handle button. Now, see, that changed to stop. So if I move this, it will do single stitches. And notice that what happens over here at the bottom left, it says decrease the stitches per inch. And here is my stitches per inch. Right now it is set on basting 1.0, which is 1 stitch per inch. If I click the left button, see, it keeps changing that speed. It'll go up to 4 stitches per inch. See, yeah, this is kind of misleading. Notice what happened here. I'm going to stop, and I can click the right handle button to stop. I'm going to change this back to see what happens to my arrows here. That's what I mean. Things on this is kind of misleading. I can increase it up to whatever I want to increase it to for speed with these arrows. Okay, I'm going to put this on 1 stitch per inch. Where's my 1? Okay, 1.0. If I click the left button, it'll go down to, I got to do a start first. Start. Now decrease speed. Click the left one, it's going to go to 0. Well, it went to 4. And that's all it'll do in that case. So you have to be careful there, is what you're doing with this button. We'll hit the stop button, which is the right handle button. So that left button can change these stitches per inch, but the one that is affected most is the regulated speed mode. See, when I go to constant speed, I'll do that. Basically, there's not a whole bunch I can do. I can do a single stitch with this left button. Okay, I can click the start button and it'll just run at a single speed. Now I can decrease the speed with the left handle button. I can decrease the speed. Okay, and let's see what happens when I click over here on the speed block. It doesn't change it in this particular mode. Click the right handle button and that stops. So let's go to the one that's affected the most, and that's this regulated speed, the regulated sewing. The left button here is single stitch, and that's what it'll do if I press it. But if I press the start button, if I press the right handle button, that's start, and the lower center is also start. But when you're doing regulated stitching, you really should have your hands on your handles, because that's what you're going to be doing. So you just press the right handle button, the red button, to start, and nothing happens unless you move the machine. Now, notice what happened to this left handle, or the lower left 6-button keypad. It says it's decrease the stitches per inch, and it's set on 12 right now. Well, since the left handle button is connected to that, if you press it, it will start decreasing the stitches per inch, making them less stitches per inch. Now, I don't know for a fact, but maybe this is what's happening to some of you that are having this problem with having your stitches per inch decrease in the regulated mode. You have your hands on the handles, and if you accidentally press the left handle button, or if you've accidentally pressed the lower left 6-button keypad button, you will decrease your stitches per inch. I don't know that that's what you're doing. And talking with Justin, his idea is that the most likely cause of this type of problem, that your stitches keep decreasing, is the fact that you have a bad left handle button. It needs to be replaced. These handle buttons are spring-loaded, so that when you press it, it returns back. After you let go of it, it returns back to its normal position. And if that, for some reason, that's going bad, and it makes contact by just vibration of the machine or something, you can have a case where your stitches per inch on the screen here, where it says stitches per inch, and on this right there, they can decrease. So that's a cause that might be happening to you. So I hope this clarifies some of the problems that have been noted with the stitches per inch changing as you are doing regulated sewing. So make sure you do not press the lower left or the left handle button as you're stitching. If you do, you will decrease the stitches per inch.